Well, as we are covering this big development, in fact, that comes into the trial that's been on with regards to the 2016 elections, let's also bring in our guest for the morning today with regards to this particular matter. Sandeep Unathan joins us on the broadcast. Sandeep, a very good morning to you. Very firstly, history having been created with a US president now being called guilty. He's now been proven to be guilty in 34 felonies, falsified accounts that's been proven in court. And you know, with the elections coming up, November 5th, the elections coming up, how are we expecting this to, if at all, in fact, for that matter, affect these polls? Because from the looks of it, from what the people have to say as voters there, from what analysts have to say, and for that matter, what the Constitution of the United States of America has to say, it doesn't seem to be playing much of an importance or much of an influence on the fact that he's a presidential candidate for the upcoming elections this year.
Thanks, Shreya. Morning. Shreya, what we're looking at is possibly the most polarized elections in the history of the United States. And this verdict is just one more iron in the fire, if I can put it that way. Because from now on, from the 31st of May, right up to the 20th of January 2025, we're going to see some very unprecedented, judgments, verdicts, statements, all of that. This, like I told you, it's one of the most polarized and most contested US elections where you have these two candidates who were literally at each other's throats in ways that we can't imagine. And this verdict has actually come at a time when we are just talking about the number of cases that Donald Trump is up against. His supporters, who I've spoken to some of his supporters, by the way, and they seem to believe that every case, every conviction, every testimony against Trump only works in his favor. They are only pushing the Republicans to vote for Trump. And that is how this election is playing out. Because, as the anchor in the previous package mentioned, the fact that the United States is in uncharted territory right now. We haven't seen a person convicted of offenses running for president while the election campaigning is on. There is a whole assembly line of cases against Donald Trump. There are, of course, 3 very significant cases, far more serious than the one here in New York. There are cases in Washington, there are cases in Florida, Fulton County, Georgia, all of them for, various misdemeanors which have been brought against Trump. Of course, his supporters would question the timing of all of this. You have the documents case that's waiting around the corner. You have the charges of rigging the elections in Georgia. You have charges of insurrection. All of this. So Donald Trump is not only fighting the elections, he's also fighting a series of such cases. Like I said, this is unprecedented in the history of the United States, where one or more candidate is not only fighting the elections, telling the electorate that he's the best candidate for president, but he's also fighting a parallel stream of such cases, and each of these cases far more serious than the ones that the felonies that he's been convicted of today. And all of these are going to question the very foundations of the United States, the very principles that the US was founded on, because you're looking at the very unprecedented possibility of a candidate being in prison while he is running for elections. That could well be in the realm of possibility. Of course, Trump is fighting it hard. His legal team is sought to postpone all of this beyond the 5th of November, which is when the United States goes into elections. But like I said, the next 6 months you're going to see the kind of scenes you've never witnessed before in the history of the United States. And this is just the beginning. Shreya?
Absolutely, Sandeep. In fact, as we speak of one of the oldest democracies of the world and the largest democracies of the world, let's also get into the nitty-gritties of the Constitution of the United States of America. What exactly does the Constitution say? And this is to just, decode it for our viewers as to how can a convicted person still be sworn in as a president? One, that is one question to you. Another part of it also being that we're looking at this entire case from a place where we are still saying, even after him having been proven guilty in the court of law, we are still saying that he A, may be applying for an appeal, and B, that an arrest is quite unlikely. While the jury's decision in the hush money trial is still slated to take place in June. But at this point, do help us understand the Constitution in further depths as to what it says, and also whether indeed an arrest is unlikely for Trump.
Well, I'll take the second part of your question first. The fact that the sentencing is due only in July, and what Trump has been convicted of, the 34 charges, they usually result in just fines, or at the best, it could be like a detention kind of thing. Cases like this in New York imprisonment is very rare for these kind of cases. So if you go by past precedent, you're not looking at jail sentence for this. This is, and we will know on the 11th of July when the judge listens to all the arguments. Of course, Trump and his legal team are going to try their very best to fight this, as they are. Now, coming to the question of the United States, the Constitution says that any person who is 35 years old, who's born in the United States, and who has lived there for 14 years can run for president. It's silent on the other aspects of, whether he's been convicted or he's in jail. So technically, like I said, you're going through uncharted territory. You're looking at, because the Constitution is silent on all of these aspects. A conviction does not rule out Donald Trump for running for president. A jail sentence does not rule him out to run for president. And he could technically be the president of the United States while still being in prison. And while he's in prison, he will be protected by the US Secret Service, because that is a detail that all former serving and, of course, former US presidents get for life. He will be protected by the US Security Service. So again, you're looking at very unprecedented, possibilities coming up, where these were things that were not even thought of or even discussed or debated in the 250 odd years of the United States being around as a democracy. But here we are in 2024, looking at the very possibility of one of the primary candidates in a US presidential race, very likely to win and possibly be convicted or even serve a jail sentence while he's running for elections, or indeed, waiting to be sworn in as the president of the United States. So I think it is pretty unlikely this would actually play out, because they have delayed majority of the serious cases, the 3 or 4 very serious cases where he could be jailed. They've asked for this to be delayed until the 5th of November, which is when the US elections happen. And it's quite possible that these could be pushed beyond to 2025 or so. So what the whole import of all these cases are, they actually raise up these moral questions, especially when the electorate is going to make their decision. It will actually, put it out there in the public and ask the American public, like, listen, is this the person that you want to be the president of the United States? So in that sense, it would actually polarize the whole electorate. And that is the kind of debate that we're going to be seeing in the next couple of months, Shreya.
Absolutely. In fact, definitely quite a few unprecedented situations being thrown at the electorate in the United States of America, and only time is going to tell at this point as to how this is going to play out. Definitely a situation that hasn't arisen before for the United States of America. We'll keep a close watch as to how this plays out.